After meeting with my mill, I want to divorce my husband and have an abortion. This morning, I discovered that I am pregnant. The duration of the pregnancy is still unclear to me. Immediately upon finding out, I shared the news with my husband, who expressed his happiness and excitement. He seemed overjoyed as he left to share the news with his parents. Unexpectedly, when I opened my door today, I was greeted by my mother-in-law and my husband. My husband hadn't informed me of her visit, which unsettled me as I struggle with surprise visits, particularly from someone as significant as her. Although it was only her second or third visit to our apartment, she behaved as if she owned the place, instructing me to sit down, which made me incredibly anxious. My heart raced, and I felt extremely vulnerable. I sought reassurance from my husband, but he avoided eye contact, focusing instead on the floor or his hands. The situation took a turn for the worse when his mother, after initially congratulating me, demanded a paternity test. Her words, though not overtly offensive, carried an insinuation that felt deeply humiliating, as if she were accusing me of infidelity. My shock grew as I tried in vain to catch my husband's eye for support, but he remained detached. His mother then directly addressed me, making it clear that I shouldn't expect any support from her son. Her threats of involving their family's lawyer friends were frightening. She insisted that I accompany her to the clinic the next day to resolve the matter swiftly. I felt utterly powerless and demeaned by her actions, as if she had violated my personal autonomy in the most invasive way possible, with my husband standing by passively. The love and respect I once held for him evaporated in that moment. Overwhelmed by shock and revulsion towards him for his inaction, I felt a profound sense of betrayal. The thought of his previous affections now repulsed me. When I managed to speak up, all I could say was that I needed time to think. She dismissed my request outright, indicating that my hesitation confirmed her suspicions. Nausea overwhelmed me, and although I was on the verge of tears, I managed to hold them back. This encounter has left me in a state of shock and dismay, questioning the foundation of my marriage and the future of my family. Apologizing for the situation, she granted me a 3-day respite. My husband silently escorted her out and followed her to her car, leaving me alone in our apartment. Overwhelmed by fear and helplessness, tears immediately flooded my eyes. The thought of them forcibly taking what they wanted from me, as if I were worthless, haunted me. I wondered if my husband, or even his mother, had always harbored suspicions about my fidelity. Had they always viewed me as untrustworthy? My distress was so intense that it induced physical sickness. The question that tormented me was why my husband failed to defend me. The man I married seemed to have vanished, replaced by a stranger who allowed me to feel threatened and vulnerable. The last time I experienced such fear was in my childhood home, a feeling I vowed never to endure again. I married him believing he would be my protector, yet he failed me. The thought of him, of carrying his child, now fills me with revulsion. Upon his return, I locked myself in the bathroom, seeking refuge from his presence. He remained silent, and I planned to wait until he slept before finding solace on our kitchen couch, unable to bear sharing a bed with him. My thoughts are clouded by shock, but the desire for a divorce crystallizes with each passing moment. I cannot envision a future with someone who leaves me exposed to such harm. Amidst my turmoil, the thought of an abortion surfaced as an urgent need. The realization that this pregnancy binds me to him and his mother compels me to sever that tie. Distressed, I found myself inadvertently harming myself in a moment of despair. The very idea of this pregnancy invokes hysteria. Despite the gravity of considering a divorce and abortion, I harbor no guilt for wanting to escape this situation. The prospect of starting anew, despite losing my envisioned future and friendships, is not foreign to me. I've done it before when I left my family home, and I'm prepared to do it again. The connection to what is growing inside me feels like a tether to fear and control, one I am determined to cut. Crafting this post has provided a semblance of calm and clarity amidst the chaos. My immediate dilemma revolves around whether to leave or seek medical advice first, fearing the potential consequences of my decisions becoming known. Yet the clarity of thought reminds me of the liberation I felt leaving my parents' home, reducing the panic to a manageable numbness. For now, my focus is on finding rest and facing work tomorrow. It offers an excuse to leave the apartment, a place that no longer feels safe. Update. For those concerned about my well-being, I want to reassure you that I am all right. Currently, I continue to live with my husband, albeit sleeping on the couch, and I am in the early stages of pregnancy, around 7 or 8 weeks. Despite discussing matters with my husband, our conversations have not yielded any positive outcomes. Consequently, I've made the difficult decision to pursue a divorce. While I am exploring options for new accommodations, I have yet to take definitive steps. This Friday, we are scheduled to visit a clinic for a paternity test. The question of whether to proceed with the pregnancy remains undecided. I'm grappling with a profound sense of numbness amidst these developments. I understand the curiosity regarding potential infidelity, which has led to some negative reactions. Given that I didn't address this in my initial post, it's reasonable for people to inquire. To clarify, I have been faithful. My husband is my first and only partner. His lack of response or support in this situation is particularly hurtful, knowing our history. I appreciate your concern, but rest assured I am managing. Thank you for your kindness. Lately, I've been feeling quite detached, almost emotionless, as if nothing around me is real. This sensation has persisted since Monday. There was a fleeting moment of emotion during a conversation with my husband, but it quickly faded. Despite the surrealness of my current state, I find myself functioning on autopilot, handling work and home responsibilities. This numbness might be a coping mechanism after having cried so much. On Monday, my husband chose to work from home and stayed in the bedroom. This situation forced me back into old habits from my teenage years, where I would move silently around the house, trying not to draw attention to myself. It's unsettling to find myself reverting to these behaviors as an adult. Without uttering a word, I left for work, finding solace and support in reading comments from many of you on the train and throughout my day. Your advice has been invaluable, aiding me in planning my next steps. By midday Monday, I began receiving messages urging me not to terminate the pregnancy, suggesting that my judgment might be clouded by trauma. I'm grateful for the outpouring of support and understanding from this community. It has provided me with much-needed perspective and comfort during this challenging time. During my visits to the restroom at work, I would place my hands on my stomach, attempting to connect with the pregnancy, yet I remained emotionally detached. The thought of being pregnant primarily evokes a sense of disgust within me, a feeling I regret. Concurrently, I've been exploring apartment options because despite my numbness, my desire for a divorce, or at the very least a safe space of my own, is unequivocal. Financially, I'm in a position to move out and sustain myself independently, albeit with some sacrifices like foregoing dance classes and beauty treatments and pausing my savings. My initial panic about leaving likely stemmed from my past experience of leaving my parents' home with nothing, no money, job, or diploma, forcing me to live in cramped conditions with insufficient funds for basic needs. Realizing that I can now support myself comfortably has significantly eased my anxiety, making even the prospect of divorce feel less daunting. My current plan is to move out after we submit our samples for the paternity test, likely waiting until Monday or next Tuesday when my husband is at the office so I can pack my belongings. I've also received messages suggesting that my reaction might be trauma-induced and that my husband, too, could be considered a victim. Some comments accused me of having a sexist view towards him, emphasizing the need for dialogue. These perspectives helped me prepare for a conversation with him, though I'm too exhausted to recount it in full detail here. If there's interest, I might share the entire conversation tomorrow during my commute. In summary, 1. I questioned if he believed I had been unfaithful. Initially, he didn't, but my reaction to his mother's accusations made him suspicious. I explained that my reaction was out of fear, which he dismissed as unfounded, leading to a fruitless argument. 2. When asked why he didn't defend me or prevent his mother's intrusion, it was revealed that she financially supports our living situation, which was news to me. This revelation made me feel extremely vulnerable, yet I remain committed to my plan. 3. Our subsequent arguments felt pointless, especially after reading comments suggesting my expectations of him were unreasonable. Nonetheless, I expressed my views on our relationship and shared my history of abuse. This was the only time I felt anger instead of numbness. 4. I set clear boundaries, agreeing to the paternity test but refusing any interaction with his mother. He agreed to these terms. I haven't disclosed my considerations of divorce or abortion to him, feeling it unsafe to do so. Many comments advised me to play along, and given my history, I'm familiar with navigating such situations. That night, my husband offered to let me stay in our bedroom while he slept on the couch, but the thought of sleeping in our bed filled me with revulsion, so I declined. I overheard him speaking to his mother on the phone, though I couldn't catch their conversation. The next morning, I chose not to read any comments, taking the day to introspect about my pregnancy. Regrettably, I felt a profound disconnect. Even during my appointment, I felt detached. The experience at the clinic and at home seemed surreal, as if it were happening to someone else. The doctor provided me with recommendations, medication lists, dietary restrictions, and referrals to other specialists, all of which felt foreign to me, as if participating in some elaborate charade. Although I'm aware that my emotional numbness may not be healthy, it has allowed me to maintain a clear mind, which I find comforting. I've given my husband until Monday to make some gesture of reconciliation, be it an apology or a meaningful conversation. Failing that, I am resolved to pursue a divorce. Regarding the pregnancy, I've decided not to take any action until I've moved out. The window for a non-invasive abortion has passed, and I'm not ready to consider more invasive options. My feelings toward the pregnancy remain ambivalent, and I plan to wait and see if they evolve. That's my current strategy. The thought of encountering my husband's mother again fills me with apprehension. Despite feeling scared at the prospect of seeing her, my husband assured me he could keep her at bay until the paternity test results are in, leaving me uncertain about the validity of my fears. I may have omitted some details and will respond to comments tomorrow morning. I want to express my gratitude for everyone's support and advice. Since all my friends are also friends with my husband, I've felt isolated and unable to share my situation with them. The overwhelming support from this community has been incredibly empowering. Update 2. To summarize my current situation, I'm no longer expecting, I've moved into a costly apartment by myself, and while I'm not officially divorced yet, I've lost my circle of friends and feel quite alone. However, I'm managing. I'd rather not delve into the specifics of a previous update I deleted, but if there's interest, I might share it in the comments. Documenting everything that's transpired is daunting, so I apologize if it seems like some details are missing. I'm willing to stay active in the comments to answer any questions as a way to give back for the support I've received here. Briefly, I decided to stay with my husband and go along with things until I could secure a new apartment and arrange for a paternity test. After a discussion, my husband denied any wrongdoing on his mother's part, accused me of behaving guiltily, and revealed that our apartment was funded by his mother. Despite his sufficient income, he accepted her financial help for more disposable cash, leaving me feeling unsafe and deceived. He assured me I wouldn't have to see his mother again, a promise he broke. We had one doctor's appointment together, but for the paternity test he was absent, leaving me to face his mother alone. My emotional breakdown at the clinic in front of her and the unsympathetic nursing staff now makes sense to me. My behavior likely painted me in a negative light. My husband later criticized my behavior and expressed doubts about our marriage. This confrontation was a wake-up call, helping me realize that seeking a divorce was the correct decision. Previously, I felt detached from everything happening, which people identified as dissociation. This state affected my work performance but was preferable to constant panic and anxiety. When the paternity test confirmed my fidelity instead of backing off, his mother became more invasive, making my home life unbearable. She monitored my every move, even waiting outside the bathroom. My husband believed she was trying to show care because I seemed troubled. In essence, despite the turmoil and isolation, finding the strength to leave has offered me a form of solace. The situation with my husband's mother left me feeling incredibly anxious and powerless. She took over household chores in a domineering manner and even insisted I share a bed with my husband, which resulted in nights I'd rather forget. After enduring this for 1.5 weeks, I managed to move out, although I had to settle for an expensive flat due to the New Year's pricing. My current financial situation means I can't stay here long-term, but I'm hopeful I can find something more affordable by the end of spring, or at least in 3 months. In the rush to leave, I left behind many personal belongings, but I've come to terms with the likelihood of not retrieving them. Upon moving out, I sent my husband a message explaining my discomfort and dissatisfaction with our life together, particularly the constant presence of his mother, and expressed my desire for separation. Both he and his mother bombarded me with messages, which I've ignored from his mother, finding solace in deleting them unread. My husband's response was filled with insults and accusations which deeply hurt me. When he questioned whether I wanted a divorce, I confessed that the thought of being intimate with him again repulsed me, leading him to accuse me of either infidelity or being fundamentally flawed. I've begun to question my own mental wellness, given how rapidly my feelings for him changed. He demanded daily updates on my pregnancy, but by then, I had decided on an abortion and needed to act swiftly. My initial attempt to seek the procedure was met with a demand for my husband's written consent, which left me panicked and confused. Thankfully, following advice from this community, I sought help from a women's support group. They provided a volunteer who accompanied me and informed me that the clinic's request was not legally required. This guidance was invaluable, and I'm deeply grateful for the support and advice from those who have helped me navigate this challenging time. Many individuals were emotionally invested in my pregnancy and advised against an abortion, suggesting my desire for one stemmed from trauma and warning of the guilt and regret that might follow. While I appreciate their concern and intentions, I must admit that I don't harbor any feelings of guilt. In fact, despite the physical discomfort and lingering illness, I experienced a significant mental relief post-procedure. My focus had initially been on the divorce, believing it would alleviate my panic, but it turned out that terminating the pregnancy was what truly eased my distress. It may sound harsh, but I believe in honesty. If this is indeed a response to trauma, then this child deserved better than me as a mother. Given my current state, prone to immobilizing fear, capable of falling out of love overnight, I recognize that I'm not fit to be a mother. Moreover, I am convinced that my husband's mother is unfit to care for any child. Reflecting on my emotions then and now, I see similarities between her and my own parents, something I should have recognized sooner. After some contemplation, I informed my husband via text that I was no longer pregnant and have since been ignoring his attempts to contact me. The situation is complicated by the fact that all our friends are mutual, and his mother prematurely announced my pregnancy on Instagram without my consent. Since moving out, a few friends, primarily women, reached out with support, but communication has ceased, and some have even unfollowed me on social media. Although I anticipated this reaction and am coping with it, the loss of what semblance of social life I had saddens me. Yet, I remind myself that these were not truly my friends. Currently, I'm focusing on recuperation, spending most of my time in bed in preparation for returning to work next week, which will include overtime. I want to express my gratitude for all the support and advice I've received here. It's made me feel less isolated during this challenging period. How do you like this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.